Hello, YouTube. Hello, my chefs. Welcome. Welcome to another episode of live cooking on YouTube, the YouTube live cooking at 11 a.m. PST every Saturday. My name is Irfan Dama, and this is Cooking with Chef Dama. Welcome to the live cooking show. We have got a great show for you today. This recipe is perhaps one of the most requested recipes in Indian cuisine. It is pretty much the favorite of almost everyone in India would tell you, if you ask them, what's your favorite dish? It invariably would either be biryani or chicken tikka masala, but I'm pretty sure biryani is what takes the cake all the time. And today's recipe is going to be a biryani that is targeted for the beginner cook. Now there are as many biryani recipes as there are days in the year. Recipes for biryani and styles for biryani will change from province to province, from state to state. There will be different biryani recipes using different kinds of rice, different kinds of flavoring as you go down India. The ingredients that are available to you will change, and that reflects in the biryani. So it's almost like warfare for the people who go, which is the best biryani? Nobody can answer that. Biryani is a religion. Biryani is something that is featured on festival tables. It is one of the favorite dishes in India, and it also is among my favorites. I love cooking biryani. Now, biryani is a cumbersome process. There are many steps involved. There are many moving parts, and there are many biryanis that end up failing. And the reason being, there are certain steps that a lot of people overlook. I created this class, Biryani for Beginners, to just guide you through the process of making biryani and having the most simple version possible. This biryani is designed to cut out some of the cumbersome steps, and I'm going to explain what those steps are. A biryani is difficult because there are several pillars to it. There is the part of making a good biryani korma. There is the part of frying the onions to make the birishta, which is an art in itself, to get the onions beautifully brown and crispy. And most often that's where the fail happens, if your onions are not properly browned. Then there is the part where traditionally, if you are adding potatoes to your biryani, you would want to have the potatoes deep fried, traditionally. And finally, there is the layering process and the dum process. The dum process is the process where you cook the biryani and it's all cooked together. The korma, the rice, and layers of spices and layers of ingredients that make this biryani makes this biryani come together. The challenge for this is where the biryani fails is this. Either the biryani gets too soggy, or the biryani gets scorched at the bottom, or it just doesn't come up to temperature and the potatoes are raw. Sometimes the chicken is raw. So you cannot control it, because once you do the layering and once you start cooking, your biryani, you cannot go in and check, because it is cooking in dum. The steam is gathering as it all cooks together. So this class is designed so that the biryani, you walk away from most of these fail points. You walk away from, you control those fail points, and I'm going to go through each step on how to control these. So just to go over once again, the important steps of the biryani, as I mentioned, was the rice process, the korma process, the fried onion process, the fried potato process, and the layering and the dum. So what makes this biryani class a biryani class for beginners? Well, we take shortcuts. Number one, the rice for this biryani is actually cooked in a rice cooker. I will show you a recipe on how to cook rice. In fact, I posted it. It was my first YouTube short video, and in a 1-minute video, I will show you how to cook rice if you don't have a rice cooker. But if you do have a rice cooker, the results from the rice cooker are fantastic, and that is what we will use. It takes that one element out of cooking biryani correctly. Is it as good as if you were to cook it from scratch and make sure the rice is cooked half done? Probably not, but it's good. It's a great end product. Also, the second thing about the biryani is the frying onion process. So instead of going through the process of frying the onion and getting the birishta right, we're going to go with store-bought birishta. We're going to go with these onions. You get very, very good products out in Indian stores right now, and even on Amazon, you can find some really good products. So that's another step we've taken care of. We are going to use store-bought onions. So we will focus primarily on this class on the cooking of the korma and the layering. I forgot to mention the frying of the potatoes. We're not going to fry the potatoes. We're going to roast the potatoes, and I've already pre-roasted some. And you get very, very good results with just roasting potatoes. You want the potatoes cooked almost fully and then cooled. This firms up the potatoes, so you don't have the issue of your potatoes being raw when you go into your biryani. So in today's class, we are going to focus primarily on making the korma, and we're going to focus on the layering process. So let me take a minute right now to say hello to all of you who are checking in before I get the class started. So who have we got coming in today? I see. Thanks for doing this awesome session. Chesley, how lovely to see you. I'm so happy that you could come. It says for waiting. Do they have to be allowed in? I got my phone, but my desktop says it's waiting to begin. That's kind of strange. Hello. Mario, namaste. Good evening from Ireland. Wow. We have a visitor from Ireland. Mario, thank you for checking in. Is this your first time? Is this your first time on the show? If it is, just lovely to have you. So good to see you out here. Good. So we've got Mario, we've got Chesley coming in. We will wait for a couple more. While we do so, let me switch camera angles and show you what I have prepared for you today. So here we have the setup. Thank you for the like. I like that. It's good to see. It's good to see that Mario. Since it's Mario, I'm just so pleased to have you here that I'm just gonna pin you up on the chat because I'm excited to see someone from Ireland. I have never been. I've heard the nicest things about Ireland, and I want to visit someday. So if I do hop the pond and get to Ireland, I'm gonna look you up and maybe we can have a brew together. What do you think about that? All right. So let me now show you. I've got everything ready over here. Let me take care of this. Since I have the dual camera, let me be able to look at you and tell you what we have going on here. So for the biryani, we have got the ingredients laid out over here, and I have pre-marinated the chicken. Now, I just wanted to let you know, the chicken for biryani for beginners, I recommend if you are a beginner and you are not very comfortable with using a knife, I recommend going with chicken thighs. Much easier to butcher and cut chicken thighs. But if you want to be a little adventurous, chicken biryani made from chicken on the bone is far superior. And that's because the bone adds to the stock. It gives you a really nice, rich gravy. And two weeks ago on the live session, you can go back and check it out, I showed you how to cut a chicken for curry. That is the same chicken that you can use to make a biryani. So in this live demo, I'm gonna go with using chicken on the bone, but I have a video that I can show you about the marination of the chicken, which I'm going to play right now, and you can see how the chicken was marinated. Let me add one more step I forgot to mention in my rundown. The masala to make biryani is a lovely process where you toast spices and you bring out those flavors and then you grind them up. It's a recipe that has almost 15 to 20 ingredients. So because this is a beginner's class, we have gone with a store-bought biryani masala. And when you go to an Indian store, if you have access to an Indian store, play around and see there are so many biryani masalas that you can play with. Use any one. Use a Karachi style, use a Bombay style, use just a Sindhi style or a basic biryani. You will get a lot of options. And for the beginner, that's a good recipe to go for. Following, I will come up with another recipe where we'll go deeper into a more intermediate to advanced biryani, and that's when we will make our own biryani masala. But I have used a very simple biryani masala. It's called the Memani biryani masala, and it is a really, really good spice blend. So please do definitely pick and choose and go adventurous. But let me show you a real quick video on how to marinate biryani. And oh, I see one more person checking in. It's Charlotte. Hi, Charlotte. Good to see you. Welcome from Canada. And here we go. Go. The job, we just saved so much time just by doing a pre-video once ahead. So here you go. I hope you like that. But just as it shows, here's the biryani, the chicken. On the bone, it has been marinated. You can do this up to 1 hour before you start cooking, but if you want the best flavors, I recommend that you do this the night before. All right, we're getting ready. The last thing before I go and get started, I should. I'm gonna turn the stove on, get the pan heated up. But just wanted to say the reason I chose biryani for today's class is it's a two-pronged approach. Tomorrow is Mother's Day, and to all the moms out there, happy Mother's Day. Thank you for being a powerful and influential force in our lives. It's good to remember moms every day of the year, but on the one day, which is Mother's Day, it is that opportunity to pamper mom. So for those of you who want to do something really special, I don't know what could be more special than making biryani for mom on Mother's Day. Also, on Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on when the moon is sighted, it's going to be Eid, and biryani is a traditional dish that you have on Eid. Now, usually, biryani at home is made by the head chef of the house, which is the mother, obviously. But for those who are adventurous or want to try a new biryani style, here's one for you. Or if you are away from home on Eid and you're missing a biryani for the first time cook, this is a great biryani to have. So that is the purpose of putting biryani for beginners on today's show. So hope you enjoyed. I want to say hi to Edmar. Thank you for showing up. I'm happy to see you. Edmar has a wonderful channel where he does the Sunday 7 a.m. choir and angelic voices on his channel. Edmar puts out such beautiful music. Thank you for the music and thank you for showing up here today. You think you're gonna make a biryani for Dawn tomorrow? You think it's something you're gonna risk? I hope you try it. I'm sure Dawn will be very, very pleased. All right, without any further ado, my friends, let's get started. So, first thing we're going to embark upon is we are going to make the biryani korma. Let's move on to the overhead cam. Boom. Here we go. So, Don's more of an Italian food person. Biryani for Noah and I. Sounds good. When all this pandemic is done, guys, and I come to visit you guys in Canada, obviously I'm going to be crashing in your basement. So maybe in exchange there'll be a biryani chicken tikka masala barter. What do you think? Okay, let's get started. The first thing we're going to need is oil. I am using mustard oil. I think mustard oil is it's my oil of choice. It's sharp, it's pungent, but it is so delicious. You want to go generous with your mustard oil. No, don't stinge. So here's the thing about mustard oil. It bears repeating every time I go into the class. Mustard oil is a very sharp oil. It smells very, very pungent. And when you add mustard oil, you always want to get it up to smoking point. You want it to get to smoking point and then bring it right down again, and it takes away some of that pungency. Mustard oil has got great health benefits and it's great for cholesterol. So as at least my Indian store vendor tells me that he cooks everything in mustard oil. And I just think the oil is an important part in Indian cooking because it imparts that beautiful flavor to food. And when you can use refined oil if you don't have mustard oil, but when you use different oils like coconut or gingelly or mustard, the flavor imparted is just so much better. Okay, I don't know if you can see this, but I can see there's a bunch of steam coming out, so I'm going to turn the flame a little low. Here's another thing. Usually you would add some whole spices to the oil right now, but biryani for beginners, we're going to go straight in with the onions because the biryani masala that we are using has got a lot of whole spices in it already. That will reflect in the dish. So for this recipe, straight out with the onions. In other recipes, as we go more intermediate, make our own masala, we will flavor the oil with whole spices, and that just adds more character to this dish. And here we go. So the onions go in. We're going to give it a little saute. The goal of this now is to get the onions to a nice caramelized point. So thank you, Mario. Yes, the tip regarding mustard oil is important. Yes, it is. A lot of people do overlook that, and the food ends up being very, very pungent. Though, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, Mario, but if if you're from Bengal, I think looking for that spicy, pungent mustard oil is actually looked for, isn't it? And so they don't do the step of taking it high and then bringing it low again. But thank you. The sound of sizzling is very satisfying to my Apple headphones. Yes, it is. The sound of sizzling is a good thing, indeed. Alright, so while the onions sizzle away, here's another tip. When we want to get the onions cooked down and caramelized, it's always good to have a little bit of salt handy. I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit. But here's the science behind it. Salt is hygroscopic. Hygroscopic is just fancy speak for it draws out moisture. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to draw out the moisture and we're trying to get it to evaporate. Once the moisture is out, that's when browning can happen. And the salt helps in that process. So, salt added. Time to saute. I can already see the browning happening pretty quickly. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the flame down to medium, and I'm going to let it cook. I see Nitesh has joined on. Hey Nitesh, how's it going? Mario, you're from Goa. Hey, Mario, were we in college together? Were you that same Mario D'Souza from college? IHM batch of 1990 to 93. If so, hey Mario, so good to see you. I think maybe you were a batch senior to me. But good to see you if you're the same friend from college. Nitesh, my school friend, has just joined. Hi Nitesh, how are you doing? Nitesh is a food aficionado, and when I visited Bombay, he gave me a tour of all the spots where you can get really good street food. He claims that the best pani puri in Bombay is the one that his wife makes. So Nitesh, at some point, if there is demand to do a pani puri show, what do you think? Do you think I could get some help from the missus? Let me know in the comment section, will you? Let's look at the biryani going right now. Cool. So as this biryani, I've done the flame low so that it's not super low, but sort of like at a medium is what we're looking for. And let it cook down. Now, I just want to point out that I am using a Le Creuset. The Le Creuset oval Dutch ovens. My opinion, these are my vessels of choice for cooking. They retain heat. They get really, really hot, and that's where you can get really good caramelization, which is what we look for in Indian cuisine. That caramelization is important. And if you can see on the sides over here, there's already kind of browning that is happening. And that is a good thing. That's a good thing because that is what adds flavor. That's what brings flavor to the dish. I said it, it bears reminding again that very often a lot of people use non-stick to make their Indian curries because it's a safer route to go. But when you use non-stick, I feel you miss out on that part that sticks to the bottom, and then as it gets dislodged, you develop more and more flavor that way. That is why I think going with non-sticks, or with, what's the opposite of non-stick? Stick? Going with stick pans rather than non-stick pans. Cool. Hello from Ajax. Hey. Neha is watching too. Hi Neha. And even your mom and your sister. Please, if you guys are watching, please say hi in the comment section. It'll be lovely to have this interaction. Okay. As we are cooking this down, here's one thing I'm going to do. Let's put the lid on. And sometimes having the lid on traps the steam and it cooks, it helps cooking, it builds up the heat and the caramelization happens faster. So we're pretty close to where we want to be. We want to have this nice brown on the onions, but while we wait for that to happen, let me talk you through the next few steps that's going to go through. Do you need anything from India? She's coming tomorrow to the US. How is she coming to the US? I mean, isn't that a travel ban? Well, if there is a way, thank you so much, but no, I am good. I'm very, very good. Just be careful. It's dangerous out there, man. But thank you so much, Nitesh. We will, whatever the, I will collect from you when I come to India when everything is opened up. But thank you for offering. Next step, to the onions, we are going to add ginger, garlic, and chili paste that I have over here. That's approximately three tablespoons of ginger, garlic, and chili paste. One each. Here is mint leaves and cilantro. I'm going to use half in the korma, and the other half is going to go in the layering process. And I'm also going to add kasuri methi. All of this is going to go in, and it's important that it goes in early because it needs to fry down. As it fries, it builds up. What we're working on is building that base to put the chicken in. We want it to be nice and rich. Okay, it looks like we're getting close to being done. The onions are looking nice. I could let it go a little longer, but you're starting to see caramelization take place. Here's the thing about onions, guys. When you are frying onions down, there is the temptation to rush the process and crank the heat up. Don't. Indian food should always be cooked at a medium flame. Because scorching is the killer of Indian food. Patience is what will make it work. So take your time, find something to occupy your time with. What we can do is, Nitesh says, don't worry, cheers. Nitesh, I admire you. I've always admired you for your guts and being able to have the best adventures. I've had some awesome adventures. I don't think I can share those adventures live on YouTube, but Nitesh's adventures are something else. Chesley says, please do a Pani Puri show with Irfan. Would be great and fantastic. Nitesh, Pani Puri, request. Please, recipe bhajwa do. Hum banayenge. We can even have you come in on that side and you can talk to me as I'm making the Pani Puri, so you can say right, wrong, or whatever. Okay, taking a look at the onions. Here's what we should do. Let me see if I can. Alright, we're good. I cannot zoom this down. I'm just gonna take my word for it. The onions are cooking down nicely. But as I move the onions aside, you can see this. The stuff that is sticking to the bottom there, that's good stuff. That's flavor. That's what we want to capture. This. Also, there's one more thing I'm going to do. I'm going to move this a little towards the center so that the caramelization can happen in the center. There we go. Because I want the caramelization, the sticking to happen evenly. So yes, important process. Browning the onions down to a nice golden stage because we want the onions broken down. Onions will be added in 2 stages. Let me show you. Later on in the process, remember I spoke to you about fried onions? Well, we are going to be adding fried onions as well. This is also known as birishta. And this will be added in to add more complexity to the korma. Half of this is going to go into the korma, and then the other half will be used in the layering process. So just wanted to show you the onions being a very important stage in biryani. Okay, I think we're good to go. We've got some decent caramelization happening. The onions are starting to cook down. It's looking nice. There will be further cooking that will take place once the pastes go in. So we are now ready to move to the next step, and now that is the part of the pastes. The pastes are going in right now. This is the ginger, garlic, and chili. And as soon as this goes in, there's a little bit of See? Oh boy. As soon as the pastes go into the oil, the first thing you will experience is this big whiff of harsh aromas. That's all the harsh aromas from the garlic and the ginger. And it's important that that is to be cooked out. Hey, my good friend Vinay is on. Vinay from Nasik. Hey, it's like having a little reunion. I went to school with Vinay Bachao, and that's him, design guru, the architect in our group. Good to see you. Thank you for tuning in, Vinay. Okay, so as we cook this down, we're also going to add half of the cilantro. Okay, leaving some for the layering. Half of the mint. This goes into the layering now. And the kasuri methi. And I like using a good amount of kasuri methi. So this is one step I learned from one of my cooks when I worked at Google, and I don't think he's watching, but if you are watching, Pancho, thank you for that. Pancho, his name is Francisco. I just call him Pancho because it's his nickname. Without a shadow of doubt, Pancho, the Mexican, is one of the best Indian cooks I have ever worked with. Pancho worked as a dishwasher in an Indian restaurant from the age of 15. He learned Indian cooking inside out. He learned restaurant operations inside out better than most cooks I know. And so I always say that if I was successful at Google, it was because I had Pancho at my side. And I always say this till the end of time. So Pancho, if you are watching, see, I said it. I gave you credit. Because you'd always be like, chef, I do all the work. You go and stand there and shake hands, kiss babies, and take all the credit. Like, nah. I'll tell the whole world that Panchito is one of the best Indian cooks. And I swear, when you open your restaurant, I cannot wait to come and see what you got going on there. All right. As we cook this down a little more. Okay. There we go. The flavors are looking good. This is the beauty of Indian cooking is that it takes time, but it is worthwhile. And as the famous Alton Brown says, your patience is rewarded. Hey. How's it going in Nasik? Things are pretty. I mean, I just got to say solidarity to all my people in Bombay. Stay safe. We're hearing the news every day, and it's really it's scary to hear that. And being someone who came from Bombay and grew up there, stay safe, guys. It's hearts go out to you right now. That's the only thing about cooking in my living room just behind my kitchen's back there. And cooking in the living room seems to make more sense. Just for the setup and the gig, and the rig, it's easier to cook in the living room. But the problem is the smells. They're just like they capture. Okay, I think the pastes are well cooked. They're starting to stick and catch at the bottom. That's really nice. We're now ready to go to the next step, and that is the part of frying down the crushed tomato. Here I've got some crushed tomato that I would like to fry down and concentrate. I have added the tomato. You can add the tomato later as well as before, but when you add the tomato into the oil at this stage, it becomes part of the masala. It concentrates the flavor. If you are using a store-bought puree, then you should use the puree at a later stage because the puree is already cooked down a little bit, as is the paste. But this is made from fresh. And so we are cooking this down to kind of cook out some of the rawness as we concentrate the flavor. So this will go for another few. They'll go for another few minutes, and I'm taking the heat up. It's generally a good rule of thumb as you increase the amount of moisture in the cooking stages of going down the stages of cooking, the more moisture, you can crank the heat up higher. But if you're going with drier ingredients like the onions, the ginger, the garlic, the chili paste, the masala powders, you want to keep your heat to medium low because dry ingredients will tend to burn. You don't want that to happen. But the tomato is adding moisture to the mixture, and so it's cooking out. I see we have another person come on. We've got Ejaz. Hey, hi Ejaz, good to see you. Thank you for joining. Good to see you over here. Are you going to try to make biryani this Eid? Let me know your answer in the comment section. And Vinay says Nashik is chill. That's good. I'm glad to know that. Concerned about Bombay and also concerned about Bangalore. My mom and my sister are in Bangalore, so everybody in Bangalore out there, stay safe. Hearts go out to you. I also want to say a special thank you to Chesley, who is basically two-timing me right now. As he is watching this show, he is also attending another event that is being hosted by another friend of the show and a good friend of mine, Razi. I would have loved to join that one, but can't do two things at once. But apparently Chesley can. So Chesley, you two-timing man, how's everything going? And please say hi to Razi for me if you can. Okay, I want you guys now to see when the crushed tomato went in. There was a lot of liquid. It was very wet. But as it has gone down, it has started to concentrate. And as you can see, if you can see the side, it is also scraping the sides of the pan. That is important. That's what the moisture does. As it collects what's caught at the bottom of the pan, you get more and more flavor built that way. These are certain things that you learn as you go around, as you cook Indian food. And that's basically culinary principle. It just works well with Indian food, but it's culinary principle that works across all cuisines. So, Edmar, what's on the menu for Mother's Day? Put us your... actually, why should we just say Edmar? Anybody who's watching, what's on the menu for Mother's Day? Would love to know what you guys are cooking for mom or what is being cooked for mom, because that's one day a mom should not be cooking, right? Mom needs to be pampered and be either treated to a brunch or have a brunch cooked for her. So I'd love to know what's on the menu for Mother's Day, guys. Let's put it on the comment section below, please. Aja says, not me personally, but wifey is. We'll ask her to try this recipe out. Aja, this is a recipe for beginners, and from what I understand, your wife is a very experienced cook, so she might wrinkle her nose at this recipe. I'm just saying, this is more targeted to guys like you who are, who like to putz around the kitchen and have kind of sort of like a hassle-free biryani. But if she gives the thumbs up, I will be very, very, very appreciative of that. Okay, as you can see now, this, guys, is an indicator to move to the next step. Indian cooking is a series of steps, one after the other. You want to take time for each step, and the indicator that you know that you're ready to move to the next step is that there is sticking happening at the bottom, and the sticking is difficult to get dislodged. When that sticking happens, it means that your masala is properly cooked, the moisture is evaporated, which is what we're looking for. We are now ready to go to the next step, and that is the stage of the marinated chicken. one of the best things to dislodge stuff and to deglaze the pan is yogurt, and there is yogurt in this marinade. So that's going in right now, and that will do a wonderful job of deglazing and taking out all the beautiful flavor from the bottom. If only you could smell, see how lovely the house is smelling right now, man. It's. So I love these live classes, man. It gives me the excuse to have all these. Otherwise, you only wait for special occasions to make this, but when you commit to doing a live show every Saturday, one day in a week, invariably really fun dishes end up coming on the show. And you get to eat it afterwards. Okay. So, as the yogurt goes in, you can see there's a lot of yogurt, and it'll tend to split a little bit, but don't worry about it. As the moisture continues to cook out, it'll thicken up and it'll all be fine. But as you can see now, the yogurt is going to the bottom of the pan. It's deglazing everything. And it's all coming out nice. Look at that. Biryani masala is mixing with the chicken. Okay. I want to make sure that I always have flame going because I use canisters for this heating thing. And quite often, right in the middle of a class, boom, there'll be suddenly no gas. And you're like, what's going on? So you got to check on it from time to time. All right, so the chicken is in. And it is now mixing up really well and starting to cook. You always want to, when you put protein, the stage of adding your protein or your featured ingredient, especially when you add your protein to the flame, you want it to be gentle. You want it to mix around so the spices mix really, really well. But you also you want the color of the chicken to change from the translucent to opaque. That's the point of the moisture. You want the moisture to come out of the chicken, the flavors concentrate and get better. It's only once the color changes and it starts to get thick, that's when you add water to cook it. You are going to need water to cook this, but you always want to add it in a little after the chicken goes in or the protein goes in when you are cooking it in this fashion. So yeah, we'll just give it some time. So, okay, the house. Let me read some of the comments while the chicken is cooking over here. Edmar says, Mother's Day menu is supporting a local business chef. So, let's add this. If she wants me to cook, it's going to be grilled cheese. Well, my friend, if it's going to be grilled cheese, then here's what I suggest. Make it chicken tikka masala grilled cheese. It works wonders. Well, it's probably a better bet for her to ask Noah or Charlotte to cook. That is true. I saw pictures of Noah making chicken tikka masala, and maybe Noah should be on the show comparing recipes for chicken tikka masala. What do you say to that, Noah? Do you think you want to come on and go head to head with the chef? I think you might win, just because you're far cuter than I am. All right. Yes, the house is smelling wonderful. Yes, Vinay, this video will be available on my channel in its entirety. And I will also be putting, I'm thinking of doing a highlight reel in a shorter video, just for those who want the highlights. But that's work in progress. Oh, that means we're eating out. Oh, Ed, you are hilarious. All right, hang on. Let's, Don says we are in. Cool. Okay, I'm just going to now change to just the overhead so we can see it a little better over here. As you can see right now, it is starting to get a little more concentrated. I've got all these. I'm gonna move these out. I want to. It's starting, as you see, the yogurt. It had a lot of liquid in the beginning, but now it's starting to get concentrated. It's starting to get thick, and you can see, like here's a piece of chicken. It is starting to lose that translucent color and it's starting to get opaque. This is what we are looking for. It's gonna need another few minutes. And so while this is simmering, I'm going to line up the next round of ingredients that are going to go. So over here I've got the brown onions, as I told you, and this is garam masala, and I've got water. The important thing always is whenever you are cooking Indian food, I always recommend before you start cooking, you always keep water at the side ready to go. It's one of those safety measures that you have, just because as you are frying things down, and if the pan gets too hot and you see things starting to scorch, a little splash of water is your safety trick. It will take the temperature down, it'll dislodge what is stuck, and it tends to build up flavor. It's sort of like a dance that keeps going through, but you get the hang of it as you go along. All right, I think the chicken is at a stage where I want it to be. I can let it go a little further. Aha! Epic fail. We have got a canister malfunction. So I'm going to change angles, and I will be right back with a new canister for the cooking. You get to see. It's like changing. It's like changing it's like a pit stop. You're changing tires in changing tires in mid race. Just like that. It's like a 20-second pit stop in Formula One, right? Boom and done. There's one more thing I wanted to point out, guys, is that when you are cooking, I'd mentioned it in the last class, but try to get a vessel for cooking that is larger than the amount of chicken you want to have cooked. It just kind of helps with, it gives the chicken room to grow and room to breathe, and that is that prevents the chicken from breaking up, getting stringy as it cooks. You want it to have some room to grow. So I am now going to add half of the onions. This is the brown onion. This is the birishta that I was telling you about. And this I'm going to leave for the layering process later. Also, here are the potatoes that I roasted. I roasted these. These are almost fully cooked, but look at the nice browning that you get out of a good roasted potato with a little bit of oil and a little bit of salt on a sheet tray, roasted in the oven. It takes 30 minutes. You flip the potatoes around halfway. Actually, this one was 35 minutes because the potatoes are large. You cut your potatoes the same size as you want your chicken. Potatoes are going in. Let the potatoes get mixed up with the gravy. And we want this to cover up with some water. Just enough for the chicken to look like it's having a little jacuzzi bath, maybe a little more. So that was approximately, approximately a cup and a half. And that's enough for the chicken to just kind of simmer in, be well settled, and now it needs to cook. So remember the mantra that I said in the last class in the last class that I did, which was how to make chicken curry for a simple and easy chicken curry. But I will keep repeating this in every session that I do. You always bring it up to a boil and then you reduce it to simmer. You don't add ingredients and then reduce the simmer right away. You want it to come up to a boil, and this kind of boil is what we're looking for. It's a good rich boil. Stabilizing this. When you bring it to a boil, it's about hitting those constant temperatures. Once you raise it up to a boil, you've hit that constant. You are now can let it. When you bring it down, you know you have achieved that right simmer temperature, which you're hoping for, between about 185 to 190 Fahrenheit. But you're not assured of getting to that temperature if you don't bring it up to a boil first. But now I know, gotten pretty high. It's at a good boil right now. It's very, very safe to put this aside and to simmer. All right. Oh, forgot. Most important before this happens, a good amount of a little sprinkling of garam masala. You want those flavors to get in. This is a nice and floral garam masala. Cool. Chesley says, Edmar has to leave. It's too bad, Edmar. You can catch the remainder of this at the end of the class. And Chesley says, biryani with potatoes. There's a good story behind it. Now I'm going to cover this up. And turn it on slow. There we go. So Chesley, while this cooks, I'm glad you brought up the topic of potatoes, because there is a little bit of a history lesson involving potatoes in biryani. Today, this is what I read. I'm not exactly sure where, but you will find some establishments will put potatoes, or some recipes call for potatoes, and some recipes call for no potatoes. I personally, I grew up with mom used to put potatoes in her biryani, and I loved those potatoes. But here's the story behind this. The biryani, the biryani concept came with the Mughal kings that came over and invaded India and settled and gave India some of the best architecture and some amazing cuisine. As the Brits came over, the British took over most of India, unified, colonized India. There were holdouts where certain states became what they called princely states, and there were the princely states that had that were basically I can't get the word. It's the money that the British would give to keep up the Nawabs. They would be accustomed to a certain amount of lifestyle. The Nawabs there were the three major Nawabs that influenced the biryani. There was the Awadhi style, which was from the Lucknow area. There was the Hyderabadi style, which was from the region of Hyderabad. Both these regions, the Nawabs were very, very rich, and they could afford to have just meat and just rice and make this very rich biryani. But the Nawab of Calcutta, the Calcutta style biryani, that's the one that predominantly has potatoes in it. And that, I am told, is because it was a budgetary thing. Because the Nawab of, I can't remember the name, but his dole, the money that he had, he kind of fell upon hard times, and they had to stretch the rations out, and that's where the potatoes came in. It was to basically stretch out so they could reduce the amount of meat and stretch it out with the potatoes, and thus the Calcutta biryani has the potatoes in it. Now, biryani, potatoes, synonymous, is kind of bled into each other as each different state has their own style of biryani and its choice. But in the classic three styles, that's the Awadhi, the Lucknowi, and the Calcutta style, the Calcutta biryani was the one which had potatoes, and it was purely because of economics. All right, so I'm gonna leave this to simmer right now. Let's give it a little peek to see how it's doing. Boom, nice. You can see right now the chicken is starting to move away from the bone. That means it is kind of starting to cook down. There is a lot of liquid coming out, and I want some of this to evaporate. So when I want that to happen, here's the trick that I do. And I'm not advertising for Le Creuset, but it's one of those things that I kind of like. You see these little notches over here? These notches on the Le Creuset cooking utensils helps stick it in the pot so it doesn't, but it also is a good way to hold on and keep the thing partially open because of that notch. So now you can't really see it, but it's sort of like tilting at an angle because it's being held over there. As you can see, I can stick my fingers in there. Ouch! I got chef fingers. Don't try this at home. It allows the steam to evaporate, and this will help concentrate. I'm now going to change angles, and I am going to show you the rice, which is the next stage. So let me go and get the rice. Here we are. And this is the rice ready for the biryani. Okay. So as I was saying, let's talk about the rice as we go through this process. You want the chicken to cook down a little bit, and while it's cooking, this is the time for us to have a conversation and basically have an exchange of ideas and thoughts. Hey, Chesley says thanks from Tanaz for that potato tutorial. Happy, my mind is so full of random bull crap that I love little stories. And this is one of the stories that particularly that I read, and I liked it quite a bit. I think it's in the book the Tale of Cooks and Conquerors by Lizzie Collingham. It has some wonderful history in it, and I'll tell you more stories from that as we go along. A very, very important pillar of biryani, as we said, biryani has the main pillars of biryani is the rice and the korma. So we've got the korma going down right now. It is cooking. It is evaporating. It is getting nice and juicy in its flavor, which is a good thing. We are now going to talk about the rice. When you are making a biryani for rice, rice for biryani, we're going into this with the safety measure that the chicken is going to be completely cooked, almost like 100% cooked, and the rice is also pretty much cooked. This rice is ready to eat. Traditionally, in biryani, when you have the more intermediate to advanced biryani steps, you will have the chicken that is cooked a little, the protein that is cooked a little less than what is required. So somewhere around the 80 to 70 to 90%, and then you will have the rice also cooked to its slightly half done stage, so that when it is layered and when it is cooked finely together in dum, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to layer the biryani, we're going to add rice, we're going to add seasoning, we're going to add more rice, and then we're going to put it back on the flame and we're going to let it cook. So as it cooks, the steam goes through, and that's what takes the cooking to the final 100% cooked stage. But that is also where a lot of the fail points happen, because a beginner cook may or may not know what is the exact 60% stage. Beginners may kind of falter on what is the right amount to cook the rice. So the best way to do it, in my opinion, is to cook the rice in a rice cooker, if you have one, and then spread it out on a tray, like I have showed you, and that lets the rice dry up a little bit. When the rice dries up, once there's no steam coming out of it, as the rice dries up, it is now primed to absorb the steam that's going to be generated in the dum process. So that's a little trick. It's not as good, obviously, as the process where you half cook the rice and take it through, because that's the expert, the seasoned cook. But you get a pretty decent result, is what I have to say. A pretty decent result when you follow these steps. So, as this is cooking, my cousin Vikram pointed out that you cannot assume that everybody has a rice cooker in this world, and that is true. So, I will also go through the process of how do you make a rice, and I shot a little video that I'm going to share with you right now. So here's the video of how to do the biryani rice process. Videos over here to illustrate what I need, because think about how long this session would have been if I were to show you how rice was cooked. It would have taken it so much longer. But now we are ready to go back to see what's happening with the biryani. I hope you like that video. Is it true, says Mario asks, is it better to fluff the rice with a fork? Always. Yes, it is. It is good to fluff it with the fork if you want to break it up. I find that this little tool that comes with the rice cooker actually does a good job, just because I can kind of fluff it in this manner, but I can also use the side to kind of break the lumps as it goes along. So with me, I prefer using this tool, but yes, you can definitely use a fork to go along with fluffing your rice. It definitely does work wonders. However, I think the best thing you can do also as we go on with the rice is we're going to use gloved hands. And Design Guru says, which is Vinay, is it true biryani is only mutton and the rest is just a compromise? Oh man, oh boy, you're gonna create like a war on this one. But well, let me see. Is the best biryani, is it traditional biryani mutton? I would have to say the biryani was a dish that came about at wartime. It was an excellent, as you are marching with your armies, biryani is a good dish to have because you are marching with your animals, with your livestock as you go along. So as you're moving, your goats are marching with you. When you stop for your sit down, that's when it's easy to go right there, do your slaughter, and make your biryanis, which in my opinion is why the mutton biryani became the traditional biryani. It was a good dish to feed the soldiers. It's a lot easier to walk with goats than it is to walk with chickens. Chickens need their cages and they're heavy, so you've got to be light with your supplies as you are marching into war and into your conquests. And this is why I believe the mutton biryani was also the traditional true biryani because it was good at feeding the soldiers. Poultry biryani, the concept of the biryani of cooking proteins and cooking rice together, that is an age-old concept that is not necessarily from Persia, nor is that a Mughal invention. The Spanish have been doing it for centuries. I mean, it's an age-old tradition. It's just mutton was easier because it traveled better when you were a soldier. Also, the traditional biryani that was meant for soldiers was a very simple biryani. It didn't have all the phenomenal layering that we're going to go through in the final stage. It was basically meat and rice and herbs and spices cooked together because it was designed to be hearty. But as the royalty, as the kings who were part of the war efforts grew to love that dish so much, it ended up in the dastarkhans. It ended up on the royal tables. And when it did on the royal tables, it just got embellished to make it better and better. So, is the traditional biryani supposedly mutton and everything is a compromise? I think it has more to do with the wartime effort of why mutton was the biryani of choice. But the tradition of layering meat and rice is age-old, and I think there is no such tradition or which is better. It's a matter of preference. In a later class, we will do a mutton biryani. It just has a lot more steps and is a little more complex. The chicken is the easiest for the biryani, and that's why this is a chicken biryani for beginners. But we will go into doing a mutton biryani at a later stage. There are so many biryani recipes that I want to try. I mean, I could go on till the end of my life doing biryani lessons, and I still won't hit all the biryani recipes that are out there in India. But does that answer your question? Just give me your comment if that makes sense to you. It is time to check. Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, I am going to turn this off. As you can see now, the biryani korma is looking good. It has a lot of moisture in it. So, what I am going to do is this in my opinion, as this is sort of a little difficult to show in a live class, but usually what you would do is you would let this biryani korma kind of just settle down and cool. And as it cools, the jhol or the gravy is going to start getting more and more condensed and thicker. That is an important, the resting of any form of cooking is important. But yes, as you can see now, the jhol is getting nice. There's a good amount of thickness to this. So I am now getting ready to layer it. Just wanted to point out though that before I start the layering process, let me give you an insight into what we are going to layer it with. So I think I'm going to move to the overhead where we've got the rice. We're going to do layers of rice. We're going to sprinkle mint leaves and cilantro on the sides, or as Razi say, kotmir bolo bhai. So kotmir. We're going to sprinkle fried onions, also as part of the layering process. Ghee and garam masala. The ghee is an important part because as the ghee sort of melts, it goes down, it lines the bottom of the pan, and it adds richness, and it adds that oil that is required for cooking. The last three items are a jhol. I made this is milk with saffron. I brought the milk up to a boil, then bloom the saffron in it. This saffron is important to add that richness. And the last thing that goes in will be rose water and kevra water. These will add that floral element to the biryani, and this will give it that lovely beautiful essence that overwhelms you when you finally open this dish. So couple of things that we're going to do. Because there is so much gravy, as you can see, it's almost filling up the halfway. I'm going to layer it. I'm going to take out half of the chicken and the sauce, and then I will put in rice over it. Then I'll add another layer, and then rice on top. There is another school of thought where rice goes in at the first level, and then the gravy, then the rice, then the gravy, then the rice. That's a layering of more rice and less gravy. And with that, you get what's known as the tadik, which is the crispy rice that fits the bottom of the pan. But in this one, we're going to go korma first, then rice, then korma, then rice. And in each layer of the rice, there's going to be these elements that go in. So stay tuned. I'm going to change to the overhead view, and we are going to start the layering process. Okay. First thing, we're going to take out the first layer of the chicken. Okay. I guess it does, and it gives a peek into the diplomat, Irfan. Thank you. I didn't know if I was a diplomat, if that was a diplomatic answer, but I'm glad that it answers the question. Okay, I've taken out half, and I'm gonna take out some of the jhol. Okay, so here we go with, that is for one layer. A good tip that I may say is use gloves, because when you are going to spread the rice on, there's nothing like using just your hands for the process. It makes it a lot simpler. So gloves are a good thing. Okay, and let's see if I can move to this process. All right, so you got gloves going on here. We've got our rice, we've got everything set, layered, ready to go, and we have got the biryani korma jhol just that comes up to approximately and just about an inch and a half to 2. Now we're going to start our layering process. I'm just gonna go with let's go. So I'm gonna take myself out and let's go through the layering process. See you on the other side. So here we go. Using my fingers, this is a very good way, as you said, to answer your question, Mario. So do you use a fork? Yes, forks can be used, but when you use your hands, clean hands or gloved hands, you can break up the rice a lot more gently, and you do not, you have less damaging of the rice grains. The beauty of biryani is this beautiful chutta, free flowing rice grains. So here we go with layer number 1. So just break up the grains as we go, and then see my hands. I also feel like Um, well, as you know, Indians eat with their fingers. Um, there is something. There is a certain joy of handling your food and play. Where you get to experience food through another sensation, and that is through touch. And I always feel the joy of eating with fingers is just quite something else. Wouldn't you agree, everybody who's... I would love to hear your comments. What are your views on eating with fingers? Um, Give me your comments right now. Do you, or do you insist on eating with cutlery? Would love to know your thoughts on it. Please, let's have some comments on that. Here we are. So here we go. This is good enough for layer number 1. It's probably a little more rice. Okay. As we have layer number 1, the good korma, you have the okay. Now we are ready to do the first round of layering, and that is, we'll start with the kothmir, cilantro, one, mint, 2. We want to put in a little bit of the, you want to go generous with the ghee. You don't make biryani, you don't make this biryani every day. Be a little generous. It is a festive occasion. It is Eid, it is Mother's Day, it is whatever the reason. Whenever you make biryani, that itself is, in my opinion, a good cause to celebrate. Don't you agree? Oh, I have Arlene saying it's finger licking good. Thank you. Hello, Arlene. Welcome to the show. I don't know if you've been. Is this your first time? Attending? Let me know in the comment section. And the last thing I'm going to do is sprinkle a little bit of the onions. There we go. This is the birishta, which is store-bought, and it works pretty well. Since this is such a layered biryani, it's quite a lot of rice. I'm also going to go with a little bit of that saffron milk, just so that the idea of these layers is the flavors penetrate and are uniformly distributed all the way through. Okay.
The stove is on.
Stove is off, yes. That's a good... it's a good reminder from my sous chef to make sure that the stove is off, otherwise there could be scorching at the bottom. I don't know what I would do without my sous chef, really. She doesn't want to be on camera right now. But she likes to work behind the scenes. So thank you, Manisha. Public acknowledgement. Yes, I am calling you my sous chef, even though she's more my partner in my cooking ventures and otherwise business ventures too. Here we go. We put the second layer of the chicken. What do you think so far, guys? Would love to hear this. Well, it's your first time here, Arlene. Thank you for visiting. Where are you from, Arlene? I'd love to know the country that you are representing. Please let me know in the comments. Okay, so here we go. Layer number 2 is almost done with the potatoes. And boy. All right. So the reason for doing half of this, when you are making a smaller portion of biryani, you don't need to do the 2 different layers. But when you are when you have a lot, you just want it to be spread out nicer. Here's one thing that I'm going to suggest to you guys. So this is a leftover, but I've still got some good gravy in here, right? So I'm going to mix my saffron milk in here, and this would make it the jhol. This is what would capture all those flavors. I don't want to lose a single drop Arlene's from Mumbai, my birth city. Solidarity to everybody in Mumbai. I hope it's all safe with you and your family, Arlene. Thoughts go out to everybody in Mumbai who's struggling through what's going on right now. Okay, and now it's time for the second layer. Again, I would make sure the rice is thoda chutta, as we would call it. Break up if there are any lumps that have formed. Use your fingers to kind of just ease and coax it out. And that way, by using your fingers, you are reducing the chances of damaging the grain. All right, and then layer number 2 goes on. I wonder how Chesley is doing right now. Chesley, usually the sight and the smell and the sound, even the mere mention of biryani drives him crazy, and he keeps waxing eloquent about it. So I wonder what's happening to him as he's watching this process happen, but he can't even taste it. The last time I cooked for Chesley, he finished half the meal before it was even cooked. So there we go, man. Love cooking for enthusiastic eaters. It's the pleasure of the chef to cook for enthusiastic eaters. Thank you, Vinay. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. The layers are coming together real nice. This is an 8-quart Le Creuset oval Le Creuset Dutch oven, and it is almost reaching the top of the vessel. That's how much it is. These are not. This is not a small level. This is not small at all. Here we go. Final. If you guys don't have parchment paper at home, I highly recommend parchment. It's really good for these things. It's good for baking. It's good for to prevent sticking that's happening to the bottom of whenever you use the roasting pans. The other thing that makes it really good is after it's all done, you can actually lift up the whole thing. That way you don't waste any of the rice. You can get all of it down there. Okay. And then layer number 2 of the biryani is done. What we will need is the last of the cilantro, the kothmir, the coriander leaves. We have to have 3 names for it because we are now reaching. Isn't this such a wonderful medium? We are now reaching the entire world, but coriander leaves are called a different name in America, a different name in the UK, and a different name in India, and that is, I think the world is now becoming a beautiful global village. Here we go with the last of the fried onions. I'm going to go with a little of the garam masala. A little bit of the ghee again. Ghee is a very, very important part of biryani. Yes, sure, it adds on the calories, but if you're going to make biryani, if you're going through the process, you may as well go all out. And the last thing is the jhol. Well, I lied. It's not the last thing. It's the second last thing. The last thing that's going to go on, and then let's say it is the addition of the saffron that makes this a very rich dish. But the thing that gives it that floral edge is the addition of the rose and the kevra water. The rose and kevra water, these are super important. And when you add these, you just want to drizzle a little bit. You don't want to go too much because this, literally, you just want to have a few drops in there because these are very, very potent, and this could truly overpower your dish. So I highly recommend just a little touch. And then, lastly, the lid goes on. And there you have it. The layering of the biryani is done. So at this point, you have seen this entire process of how to make the biryani korma. I've given you a glimpse into the marination of the chicken process. I've shown you how to cook the rice. If you don't have a rice cooker for this, there's a simple process where you cook it pasta method. And then I went through my recipe for the layering. We have created different layers of the biryani, and now the final stage is to prepare it. Now, I'm not going to put this on the stove right now because this cooking process will take approximately 30 minutes to 45 minutes. But I want to go over some important steps to close out this class, because once this is layered, you will need to put this on the stove 1 hour before you eat. And that's it. You put this on the stove 1 hour before you eat. If you put this in the fridge, I don't imagine you putting it in the fridge, but if you were to put it in the fridge, then you've got to slot the time to take it out of the fridge to let it come up to room temperature before it goes onto the stove. This is important. These are important guidelines because this is where failure can happen. Couple of things. When this goes on, once it goes on the stove, you cannot, absolutely cannot, lift up the lid during the cooking process. If you lift the lid to peak and you lose that steam, done, biryani over. So that's what makes biryani a challenge. You have to go with guesswork. But I will show you what some of the tips that you can use to make sure that you have success. When this goes on the stove, you will realize this is what you need to do. You need to, I'm just going to do this. You need to, when you put this on the stove, you need to place your hands on the top of the lid like this. Okay? You don't necessarily need gloved hands, but you need to place it on the top of the lid like this. As you can see, it's not burning me. That's fine, right? That means there is no steam in here. When you put this on the stove, you want to use two senses to cook. Well, three. You want to go by the sense of smell, you want to go by the sense of sound, and you want to go by the sense of touch when you are making this biryani. When you put this on the stove, you put the heat on medium high. And the important thing is all the liquid that has generated at the bottom over here, you want that to come to a boil. You want that to start bubbling, right? And when you hear the bubbling happen, that's when you put the flame down onto medium low, right? So it kind of fits in with that bring to a boil, reduce to simmer. You cannot look at the boiling, you have to listen for it. And when you hear the bubbling, you do a little test patch to touch the top of the lid. You will see that it's not warm. But you let this now go for 15 to 20 minutes, and you keep coming back by touching the top and seeing how long can you keep your hands on the top. When you realize that you can't place your hands on the lid anymore, it means the steam has generated, it has accumulated on the surface, and it is cooking. You've generated steam. That is what you want to wait for. That's what you want to achieve. When that happens, that is when you can turn the flame down. You can turn it off. The other caveat, when you turn the flame off, do not open the lid. You want this biryani to now rest. Most people, when they cry and they say my biryani is soggy, it's because they haven't given that important 15 minutes time to let the biryani rest and come to the center. You want all the steam that is generated, that is pushing its way out, you want that to come to the center, and you want it all to solidify and be juicy again. Resting a dish is an important part of making Indian food, and especially so in biryani. So you want the steam to condense, come back, give the biryani at least a good 15 to 20 minutes, then bring the biryani out to the table where your friends are gathered. Then as a group, you crack open the lid and you let the aromas take over, and that patience will be rewarded. So that's why I say, when you're going to cook this biryani, let this go you're going to give yourself 1 hour, follow these steps. You want to remember, first start with medium high, then go with medium low. When you cannot touch anymore, you turn the flame off. That's all you need. Your biryani is fully cooked. Your chicken fully cooked, your rice is fully cooked. You don't need a long dum process. You just need the steam to be generated to come up to temperature. As soon as this gets hot, let it rest, let it come to center, crack open and enjoy. A couple of safety tips that you can add as well before you put this on the flame. I hear some people do it. I've had great results with both. And that is to layer this with a cloth. Any clean kitchen towel or a muslin cloth will do the trick. And that basically helps absorb some of the steam and just keeping the aroma in. It's a good technique to have. It is not truly essential, but it's a good trick. And the other thing is, when you hear your biryani start to bubble, another safety measure is to put it on a flat top. A griddle, cast iron, whatever will fit, whatever it can go on. Having a griddle will kind of cushion the heat and prevent that scorching from happening at the bottom. So these are a couple of safety tips. If you follow this, if you remember how to go about it, how to judge, not crack it open, give it that time to rest, you will have a successful biryani. And that, my friends, wraps up today's class of biryani for beginners. I hope you have enjoyed this class. If you have not subscribed, please definitely do subscribe and hit that notification button so you will know when the next video is coming up. I am now getting into my groove and starting to create more videos, so you will see more videos coming out during the week from me. But definitely the Saturday class is always something that you can look forward to. So please subscribe, hit that notification bell, and if you enjoyed this class, please, if you're there right now, please give it that thumbs up. Let the YouTube algorithm know that this is some good content that is coming up. And I would love to hear what you think about this class. So put it in the comment section. Send me an email at cookingwithchefdama@gmail.com. That's my email. And if you want the recipe packet, send me an email and I will send out the recipes for this class today. I've got the recipe for the biryani for beginners that I'm happy to send to you. So send me an email, cookingwithchefdama@gmail.com. Thank you so much for attending. For those who stayed for the entire class, I will see you in the next one. Wish you a very, very, very happy Saturday, a very happy weekend, happy Mother's Day to all the moms, and happy Eid to everyone. We'll see you. Goodbye.